Havoc.
News, interviews, and more.
We just reek of Huntsville Havoc hockey.
The Reekin Havoc podcast is back for our first October interview before the season kicks off. I'm Tim Lambert. This week, Laura Pitt sat down with Guy Schafer, Nathan Harber, and Jacob Murphy, the guys from Bandits Hockey, who will be the new play-by-play voices for home games on Flow Hockey. Coming up after that, we've got a new entry in Huntsville's Greatest Hits, and we'll wrap up with some team info and announcements. Stay with us. The Reekin Havoc podcast continues after this.
The Reekin Havoc podcast.
One of the worst feelings you can have is that of being stranded. Well, BT's towing, tire, and truck repair makes that a thing of the past, with 24/7 towing services and roadside assistance in the northern Alabama and southern Tennessee areas. But that's not all. They also offer truck and trailer repair, mobile welding, brake service and repair, new and used tires, and other major and minor repairs. Their name says it all, BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair. For 24/7 response, call 497-8234. That's 497-8234. BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair. Got something to say? Put it on a t-shirt, or hoodie, or apron, or even an iPhone case. Just go to daddyoscustomtees.com and make it happen. Look through their selection of ready-made designs, or make one of your own. Check out their special hockey designs, too. With Daddy O's Custom Tees, you can truly have it your way. Look for Daddy O's Custom Tees on Facebook, follow them on Twitter or Instagram, or go online to daddyoscustomtees.com. That's DADDYOS Custom TEES.com. Daddy O's Custom Tees. They've got your back or front.
Let's go in the slot.
Welcome back, Havoc hockey fans, to another episode of the Reekin Havoc podcast. You know, hockey's returning in just a few weeks, and with it this year, we've got some new voices in the booth. And so this week, we're going to be bringing on our new broadcasting crew to share who they are, share about hockey and all the things that they've been up to, and give them a chance to meet everyone. So we've got Gus Schafer with us. We've got Nate Harber, and I believe Jacob Murphy is going to jump on as well. Welcome to the Reekin Havoc podcast and to the Havoc family.
Hey,
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a big honor.
Well, we are super excited to have you guys. And also, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to introduce yourselves to the whole Havoc family out there. So we're just going to head and we'll jump right in and start, meeting you guys and figuring out your stories. One of the things, I don't know if you guys have listened to the podcast yet. I highly recommend you go back and listen to it. But we love being able to figure out any kind of really cool hockey story, whether it's from a coach or a player. And now we get to talk to the broadcast team. So we're really excited about it. So Nate, tell us a little bit about who you are. What's your role in this whole Bandits hockey and all this kinds of stuff going on?
Yeah, well, I started playing hockey here locally in Huntsville. I guess it's been about 3 years ago, and I, found out that there was a local men's league team in Huntsville. And I was like, I haven't played hockey in like 10 years. My background's playing some high school hockey up in Nashville, but I decided to join. I joined a team called the Bandits, and we started the season. And there was another team in our league called the Flamingos. And they had a really cool culture going on where they were selling merchandise. They had like 20 people show up to their beer league games at, like 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. And I was like, this is awesome. I love how they're like building a culture around the team and kind of treating beer league a little bit more like, I guess more seriously than you should. But I noticed. I noticed too that they had a pretty good following on Facebook. They had 100 followers on Facebook. This is so awesome. So my background is in media. I've got my own production company, Underhill Media, but I have all this, broadcasting equipment at my disposal. And I was like, I want to do this for the Bandits. I want to make the Bandits cool like the Flamingos have done for their team. So I reached out to Guy here and to my old college roommate, Landon. He's not on the show today, but I was like, guys, I want to film our games and kind of play it like way too serious, but and I guess in a way, like, we've got the 4K cameras and professional audio set up and everything, but I want you guys to do play-by-play of the team and just make fun of us the whole time. So that's kind of how I got started. And, the Bandits social media has grown exponentially since then. I originally just wanted to get 101 followers so I could beat the Flamingos. And, now on Instagram, we're right on the door of 50,000 followers. And on TikTok, we're right on the door of 25,000. We live broadcast our men's league games, usually on Saturdays. And it's just been an incredible journey, and never thought it would to lead us to here, getting to, cover a professional hockey team. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's funny listening to you say you had all this camera equipment, all this stuff just sitting around, like you knew how to do it. I like resonate with that so much when it comes to my journalism background, because I'm always like, those skills never go away. And it's just so neat to hear like you took that skill and like transitioned it into not only something you love, but something that like now 50,000 people are enjoying.
Yeah, exactly. And what's so cool about it is I've kind of combined two hobbies. I love hockey. That's always been a good, pastime for me. And I really love video production and editing and coming up with creative ideas and putting it into practice. And I got to combine my two loves, and I just absolutely love what I'm doing now. It's so much fun.
Well, before I move on to another one of the people on the podcast, what position did you play? And what was it like, I guess, putting the skates back on after some time off the ice?
I play forward. I kind of played center there for a while when I first joined back, but I've shifted back over to left wing. It's where I'm more comfortable. But it was definitely interesting. I was playing on some really old Bauer skates that I had gotten in middle school, and somehow they still fit, but they were falling apart. So I had to upgrade some of my gear. So it took a little bit of a transition, but it feels great now. I'm finally getting back into semi decent hockey shape, and playing every couple of weeks. It's just so much fun.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Okay, Guy, Jacob, tell us who you guys are. What's your story? How do we get all of you involved in all these things?
Jacob, you go ahead because you're smarter than I am.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We sure can. Welcome to
Perfectly.
the
show. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I'm from Lakeland, Florida originally. I went to Auburn for engineering school. And while I was at Auburn, I did sports radio there for Weagle 91.1. I did the softball and soccer teams play-by-play. Also hosted a little talk show during that time. And then moved back to Florida. I actually worked with the Tampa Bay Lightning for 2.5 seasons, doing their video replay for the off-ice officials and coaches' challenges. And that was a lot of fun. Get to kind of be on the headset listening to Toronto and what they were wanting to see from the replays and the different things on that. Helped give out points during the game. So that was really fun. I grew up a big Tampa Bay Lightning fan. Been going to hockey games since I was 7 years old, and then moved to Huntsville for a job opportunity. Been here for 4 years now and playing beer league. And Nate and I got myself back into broadcasting about a year ago with the Bandits. And kind of like Nate mentioned, never would have believed we would have got to this point. So it's really great honor. It's something I've always wanted to do since I was a kid, and very, very excited for the opportunity.
That's awesome, Jacob. I will have to say Roll Tide to you, though, even though you are an Auburn grad. So I can't.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of Alabama fans around here, and I work and live in Gunnersville, so it's definitely more of a Roll Tide town down here for sure.
I can never resist being able, when I find a new colleague friend, to say that to them. You mentioned, Jacob, that you did some of the off-ice kind of video replay stuff for the Lightning. Tell us a little bit about what kind of a pace is that? That seems like it's a pretty quick thing that you're having to do during the game. What is that like?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was operating, I think, 12 different cameras, and the blue line cameras, the overheads and the nets, the in-net cameras. And basically, we're just we're keeping an eye on, major plays. Every goal, we kind of recorded that and would go back and confirm, okay, did this guy get the point? Who was on the ice? Who was off the ice for the plus minuses? And then in the event of a coach's challenge, my job was to be on the headset with the referee and kind of giving them the looks down on the iPad and to Toronto that they wanted. So it's like, okay, pull up camera 2, go frame by frame. It would be a little bit stressful, but I mean, I loved it. That was a very, very fun kind of side job. And I grew up a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, so getting to do an opportunity like that was really special and something I'll never forget.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat because as a spectator, even me sitting here last night watching some of the NHL games that we're playing, you don't think about all the different technical aspects that go into covering that game and capturing that game and what exactly you have. So saying, 12 cameras, looking through these things frame by frame, even not really necessarily on a deadline, but like millisecond deadline, because they got to look at it quick. That's a neat pace and kind of a neat opportunity. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, one fast story on that. I actually called down once. My job was never to call down or do anything. It was just to present the video. But I saw the puck go in the net, and I hit the buzzer to stop the game. And the referee upstairs was like, "If you're wrong, you're done, man." And so, luckily, I was right. And I was trying to get his attention, like, "Hey, the puck went in the net," and play kept going on. I think it was a game against Montreal. And it was a Lightning score, so I really wanted to make sure that we got that documented. So, that was one of the funnier stories. And then Stamkos had a goal once where I made him the all-time leader in Lightning goals or something, franchise points. And I was reviewing it and going frame by frame. And I was like, Mike, I don't think it tipped his stick. He's like, "Well, Murph, they already played a tribute video. You really want to be the guy to call it back?" So that was funny. And then there were also, there's players in between periods, like Killorn and Pat Maroon, that would call up and be like, "Hey, I was on the ice, or I should have got that assist." And I'm like, "You weren't even out there." So, a lot of guys in contract years getting those points and bonus structures, it's all very important. So it was a really cool, engaging job. So I just wanted to share that little fun story about it.
That's really neat, and I appreciate that. That just gave me a whole different perspective to the actual game itself, and that I had never even thought about. And yeah, you probably definitely don't want to be that guy who pulls everything back after the tribute video has gone. So I can only imagine that pressure. Okay, Guy, tell us who you are. Tell us your story. I hear you're a Canadian born.
Yes, born and raised.
So I just got back from a trip to Niagara Falls in Ontario. So where are you from?
Yeah, I used to live on that side, but I was born and raised on the West Coast in British Columbia, way up north in a little town called Fort St. John, where you had a pretty good dose of winter for about 7.5 months of the year.
That's a little bit too much winter than we're used to, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. I was closer to Alaska than I was to Vancouver, probably, or close to it. So it was pretty good winter up there. So, we grew up hockey and curling. Actually, I used to joke with my students down here. I used to teach at the University of Tennessee there in Pulaski, that we probably had more leisurely or sport activities in the winter than we did in the summer, all the way from skating outside to snowmobile racing and hockey and curling and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, hockey was a big deal. I played it growing up most of my life, and then in college, and then in beer league, which was probably my funnest years in hockey. Fast forward all the way through that. Nate was one of my students at the university, and I worked in the communications and social media and stuff. So he was first time he got on the end of a video camera and all that kind of stuff, and it quickly became way surpassed my abilities. He was a genius with that kind of stuff. So it was fun to see how that all worked out. And then when he called and said, "Hey, do you want to broadcast?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So that has been a fun sort of thing that became something that people seem to enjoy, and we kind of got a kick out of it and stuff. And then now that Jacob and I are going to be doing the Havoc, is it's a big deal for us personally. Jacob loves calling the games and stuff, and I'll be doing the color commentary and supporting where I can, but we have a lot of fun together. So it's something we're both looking forward to and are really excited about.
So how did this whole partnership with the Havoc come to be? I think that's one question that a lot of Havoc fans are trying to figure out. This is going to be a completely new change in terms of the voices in the booth that have been there for a very long time. So how did this all happen? How did you guys get chosen? What is the process on that?
That's a Nate Harber question. I was asked to give a large undisclosed amount of money in uncirculated bills.
So what you're saying is there's going to be a really neat looking banner, new one hung up in the Von Braun that has Schafer on the back of it from all that money.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, well, so I was actually talking with Clay, the marketing director, about some unrelated things. We were trying to figure out how to do some collaborations between the Bandits Hockey Club and the Havoc, because we both have pretty good, significant social media followings, and I just feel like we're a natural team anyway to try to collaborate on some things. So we've been in talks for that, I guess, for about a year now, and we had a meeting for lunch. It was me, Murphy, and Guy Schafer here, and Mark Hodges, the Bandits nonprofit president. And we just sat down and talked about, the future, I guess, of how these two organizations can help each other going forward. And, I think maybe an opportunity arose, and Clay asked if, we'd be interested in covering the Havoc games. Of course, we were so honored to even be considered for that. So, of course, we said yes. And, that's just kind of how it went. And, we're super excited about getting started.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're stepping up into like the big leagues, if you think about it. I mean, minor league hockey, it's not NHL, but it's also in North Alabama, especially in the SPHL. It is just it's a huge following behind that. I mean, people just live and breathe and die hockey in places in Alabama that I never thought that they would. And so this is going to be a really neat opportunity, I think, to kind of bring some new voices on and hear some of the things that you guys have to talk about. But were you guys, they asked you, were you just like, what? Is this real? Is this happening? I mean, how did you guys kind of process that kind of opportunity?
Well, I think when you look at our style of the broadcast, we thought there's no way they're serious, because now it will change obviously for the Havoc and stuff, but we tend to have a little bit of fun on the air. Yeah. And they kind of wanted us to keep our personalities in it. They don't want it to be become boring or predictable or something like that, but it will be more of a traditional broadcast in the sense of the sport. And so we're really excited about that. But yeah, the first part of it, I was like, are they sure they really want us? Because this could go sideways. But just joking, of course. It was a big honor, and the more we talked, it took several months of us talking about it and stuff too. Even Jacob and myself kind of talking about how do we want things to work and feel in the booth, and it's a big honor. I mean, I grew up with this stuff, right? Like, this is a big deal. A guy from my hometown is in the Canadian Hall of Fame for broadcasters, Jim Houston. I mean, the guy was amazing. Yeah. I grew up listening to guys like Danny Gallivan and Dick Irvin and all of those huge broadcasters, which influenced me, moving into this kind of stuff. So, we hope we make them proud. We hope we make them happy, and that it's a win-win for everybody. I mean, that's probably my end goal, is that the players and the fans at the end of the day go, man, we're glad these guys are here.
Yeah. I think that was a question I had kind of heard some people talking about was, these guys they're jokesters, are having a good time. It's a beer league. Like, how is that going to transition and translate over into this kind of broadcast opportunity that's also, you're going to be on Flow Hockey. So it's not just the Havoc family that's going to be listening to you. It's going to be everybody that gets that Flow Hockey and listens to the SPHL games. I mean, we live and breathe by that when we can't attend a game. So how, that was probably like a question, like, how are you guys going to transition from this really cool, funny type of stuff that you guys do with your beer league, but then balance that out into the, I guess, minor league conversation?
Well, we're only going to be making fun of the opposing teams. We're never going to make fun of the Havoc.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I can't wait.
One of my personal goals, but I think we all share this, is at the end of the season, we would like to be the number one Flow Hockey guys, not just the broadcast team, but the games. People want to watch that game, and whenever they're in town playing, or whenever we're at home, we want people to tune in and go, hey, this has made hockey fun, and we enjoy how they do it. So that's kind of my personal approach to it. We're not going to embarrass anybody or make fun when it's never be a classless sort of thing.
Yeah.
But we want to have the energy and the fun of hockey interjected as well.
Yeah, and I think I'll share in that with you. Please make sure that you pronounce the names of the players correctly. I've laughed my head off when I'll hear all the different commentary, because, when you're away, you listen to whoever's away most of the time, unless they're home. And
Right.
we're sitting here and we'll hear them say someone's name and we're like, that's not how you pronounce that, So that has always been like a funny thing that we as a family have listened to. And I always see it pop up on some of the social media groups. Do these guys not know how to pronounce their names? And I mean, it's not that easy. Some of them you probably won't, some of them aren't easy, but that has always been like a running joke I've seen with the broadcasters. But, they do give away those broadcasting awards at the end of the year. So it's a nice place to start striving for.
There you go. I like that.
Okay, so tell us a little bit then. Jacob, you're going to be doing primarily the majority of the play-by-play calling. And then, Guy, you said you were going to be doing some color commentary.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit, for those of us who don't understand and know what that term means, the color guy or the color commentary. What exactly is that in the broadcasting world?
They sort of support and enhance what the guy who's calling the play-by-play does. They might notice something that the play-by-play guy noticed but didn't have time to mention. Who passed to who, why that goal worked, what was that penalty, who instigated a fight. You pay attention the same amount of levels as the play-by-play guy does, but you're looking for some of those little things that might enhance what he's calling, but he didn't have a chance to say. And so, knowing penalty minutes history of each of the players in case one guy's instigating, talking about how close they are to getting kicked out of a game for infractions, career goals, assists, save percentage, all those kind of things the color guy should be ready to comment on. So you kind of have to be on top of your facts and your statistics, but at the end of the day, you're there to make the game seem a bit more understandable while supporting the play-by-play guy. So Jacob is an Auburn guy. 2 of my kids graduated from Auburn, so I'm allowed to support Jacob.
Awesome. Well, Jacob, what's your process then for preparing for a broadcast? Like, how do you go about getting into the zone for that game that week, and what's kind of your method for that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely doing a lot of research and studying right now. And, I was glad that they finally posted a somewhat of a roster, or the training camp roster yesterday, because it's kind of hard to find, exactly who's on the team so far this year, other than kind of going through different Reddit threads and internet posts. But yeah, I mean, just really making sure I've got a great understanding of both teams and, the stats, kind of like Guy mentioned, and being able to know it so well that I can keep up with the speed of the game. I think that's most important. I think knowing, how to let the game breathe a little bit, how to, know, hey, this is a moment where it's better to have the crowd noise versus my voice, and, just try to enhance the game. I'm very, very excited. I'm very honored. This is something that is I'm doing a lot of current research. I'm kind of using some chat GPT at the moment just to organize everything and try to get pronunciations of names. It's a lot of love and labor into this. It's a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I think what you said on, just trying to figure it out, and kind of like you're walking into something completely brand new, a bunch of brand new people. You probably only know the backs of their jerseys at this point, right? You don't really know them as individuals, and so a lot of prep work with that. And when did you start that prep work?
I mean, as soon as I guess we found out of, or that we started in talks about, the potential of this happening, which I believe was in September. So, and not growing up in the Huntsville area, it's not like I grew up following the team. And so I'm definitely trying to make sure I understand the lore and the history. And, as you mentioned, there's a great fan base here. So I want to honor that by being as prepared as I possibly can. And, I definitely understand the severity and the weight of doing a good job with this. And I'm very honored to be the person, and to have Guy there, I think is a huge help to have a second person up in the booth with me. And especially it being Guy, who's a very close friend of mine and someone that, helps me be a little bit, less nervous and at ease, and can, make a joke and interject at a moment where, is necessary. I think having Guy up there is going to be an extremely valuable resource to allow us as a tandem to call a really great game. So, but yeah, all that to be said, I have a pretty tedious day job, and I, manage money for people. So I'm trying to balance that with studying the Havoc stuff at night. And, opening day, I believe, is October 24th. So just trying to be ready by then.
You mentioned the
opening home game. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the fast pace of the game and calling that. And I'm always, I interviewed Eli Gold, who used to call for the Birmingham Bulls. And I loved one of the things he talked about was just trying to find a rhythm with them on the ice, back and forth, back and forth. You talked about that fast pace. How have you found that rhythm, I guess, in some of the stuff you've called with the Bandits? Like, how have you kind of processed that to keep up with things that are going on?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately with the Bandits, it's very slow. So I don't think it's given me too much of a prep. But I did used to do USF's club hockey team. And that's obviously not as fast as the SPHL, but it's definitely faster than us old guys out there and Nate Harber skating around. But, I try to listen, my broadcasting heroes, Doc Emmerich, Kenny Albert, John Forsland. And, it's definitely different, too, how guys will call a radio hockey game versus it on television. And since there's a video aspect, I think that helps a lot because you can let the video do some of the speaking as well for you versus, having to be as fast and descriptive as you need to be on the radio. So, to be honest with you, I think it's something that I'm going to have to just learn a little bit on the job and on the fly, and, something where I'm going to go back and listen to every game and watch every game that I've done and really critique myself and hopefully continue to get better as I do it. But I think it's something that I've never seen or called the speed of that game yet. So until I'm there doing it, it's kind of hard to know. But I also don't want to just be riffing and talking the entire game. I want to make sure Guy is able to interject. I want to make sure that, the video, I think, helps a lot to where, and I was, and even last night it's funny because it was opening day in the NHL. And, for the first time I was watching the game and thinking, oh gosh, I got to be doing this here soon. Yeah. So, and trying to listen to how those commentators let a game breathe and have their styles. And I think everyone's got a certain style. So, I'm hoping to come into my own on that and obviously, try to hone my craft and get better each game and each home weekend here for the Havoc.
We'll be back with more of the Reekin Havoc podcast.
My name is Joel, and I came to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in December of 1987 to be treated for osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. We didn't know anything about St. Jude. We didn't know what they meant or that, when we got here, what we would do, how it would be taken care of. And when we arrived, we found out that my family wasn't going to have to pay for any of my treatment, not for my medicine, not for travel, not for housing, not for food. St. Jude was going to cover all that. St. Jude supported me in every way, from, taking that financial burden off my parents to making sure that all of my family was included in this time. St. Jude literally means everything to me. I get to go home to my family tonight. I get to cook dinner for them. That's what you're giving. You are giving us everything by supporting St. Jude. So thank you so much.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
This is Kyle Clark, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
I would assume you're not necessarily new to some of the Havoc stuff and the team and all of that stuff. Did you follow the season last year in the past? Have you guys followed it, or is this kind of like a new following for all of you?
I've been to games before, and I know they've done very well recently. I know they, finished in second place, I think, a couple years ago, and had a good playoff run and got, eliminated, in the playoffs, either semifinals, I believe. So I know they've kind of been sniffing the title there. I know when I went to the games, I was like, man, that Buster Larson guy is really good. When I would just watch him in person, I was kind of like, I'm sure he's going to have to get called somewhere else eventually. So I know they've lost him. They've signed I saw they signed Josh Kessner. So that's a big time signing to kind of help replace, that offensive output. But yeah, the team is just very strong and consistent. I know that. But as far as, the deep, I'm not a diehard fan. Obviously I'm going to become one, but, I just, I'm very excited to learn more about that. And I definitely think that's part of the research, but I just know too, mainly that the fan base here is incredible. They sell out the stadium. The atmosphere is, I've never been to another SPHL arena, but I'd have to bet it's the best in the league.
It is.
It's a team with a lot of history. They've won, championships. They got banners. The coaching staff has been extremely successful. There's a lot of pride. And, I think I saw former players part of the front office now. So, it really is despite being a minor league team, it's run like a professional organization and an NHL type following and fan base. So, it's a really great honor to get to be a part of this wonderful organization.
It really is one of the, it is to me, I know I'm a fan, but the premier league of the SPHL, it is the standard, in my opinion, on what a person should get to experience at a game and how that game should go. And then even down to the things that the players, old and new and current, all of them have shared with us on the podcast about just how things are run and the management and the leadership and just all of that. So it's everything you're saying, you're right on par with that. And it's funny you mentioned, hey, yeah, Buster's great. I bet he's going to get called. That's kind of like, it's not the curse, but it's like we get really good guys and we have really good players. And then the season changes or we're in the middle. And my husband, no lie, he'll say, I bet that was a great game for him. I bet he's gone in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, don't say that. And then he'll send me a message, write a screenshot when he's on lunch, and he'll say, told you so, because then they're getting called up, which are great opportunities. But we have a standard in Huntsville, and it resonates through with the players that we get. So you're spot on with that kind of stuff. So I'm also curious if there are any particular players or storylines or anything for the coming up season that you're kind of looking forward to covering or interviewing or finding out more about.
For me personally, one of the things that I plan to do, and I think Jacob and I have talked about this too, is we'd like to catch these guys during the week, like if they're practicing at the Ice Sports Center, and interview these guys. We want to learn a little bit more about them off the ice, where they're from, their story in hockey and families and things like that. Because I think when we bring that to the broadcast, it endears the players to the fans, right? And the fans want to know about those kind of things too. It doesn't have to be real in depth, but it makes them more human. They feel like they can come to those games and they're not just cheering for, like you said, a name on the back of a jersey. They know something about the guy, right? And so that's one of our goals too, is to make the sport feel more at home for the folks, especially as it concerns the players.
Well, and in doing that, you bring to life the youth that follow them. I remember being a new Havoc fan. My son at the time was 4. We took him to his first Havoc game. He's 11 now, so he lives and breathes hockey. And just the way that those kids looked up to those players, right? And as they've gotten older, learned their stories and seen where they go and kind of seen that. It's just so interesting now to see how the youth perspective in the Huntsville area, especially those who are in youth hockey, those who are just youth that are enjoying the game, have never known about it, kind of how knowing those stories and conversations about those players has really brought those young people in to enjoying the sport.
Yes. I'll tell you one quick story. So we were broadcasting one of the beer league games one night, and a former coach of the Havoc was there, and he took me aside and he said, "Hey, I love what you guys do." He's also a fellow Canadian. He says, "You don't probably realize this, but it's having a big impact in the youth in the community. And there's way more interest in minor league hockey. And a lot of these guys are thinking, hey, maybe I could do this." And we've had stories of parents talking about their kids in that sense. And we've also had stories of adult men who at 40 years old look at that and they go, you know what? I'm going to try and learn to play hockey. So to me, and you'll hear me say this several times, but it's the greatest sport in the world. I think the fact that it's growing and there's a lot of interest like that, that's another thing we hope that we can do with our broadcast, is just get people into hockey, whether it's being an informed fan or actually getting on the ice somewhere and learning how to skate. So it's very, very exciting to see that. I'll tell you one quick story with Nate Harber. So Nate used to play hockey with Barry Trotz's son. in high school. And that was the first time I kind of got to hang out with Nate and stuff outside of the college. He was one of my students. And anyways, I got to hang out with Barry Trotz one night, and he told me, he said, did you know there's over 7,000 kids in minor league hockey in Dallas? It's the fastest growing sport in the big cities in the U.S. right now. And that was kind of fun to hear that kids all over are learning, guys and girls, boys and girls are learning to play the sport at that level. So it's very exciting for us. And that's, again, one of the things I'm excited about. Hopefully we can expose a lot of folks to hockey.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I think that I think the more exposure in a positive light that we can give to this sport, especially in a region and in an area where we don't get the snow, we don't get the weather. I mean, we're not really we're a football area, right? In the South, that's college football is our sport. Bringing to light something like this is so important because you never know which child is sitting out there who this is the thing that's going to change their life. And it was just something as simple as listening to a podcast, watching a game, listening to you guys interview someone about something that, you know, that changes that perspective and opens that door for them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to think about it, you know?
Yeah, and it's also kind of like a weird like weight almost too, responsibility, you know, to deal with that because, and, you know, as a communicator, as a journalist, I always thought, you know, hey, that story I'm telling, that whatever I'm introducing that world to, I got to make sure I'm doing it the right way and getting all the facts straight, you know, and all that stuff. And so it can be a little bit of a weight to it, but the end result is always wonderful when you see that change someone's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about how you guys plan to connect with the players, but how are you guys looking at connecting with the fans? Because there is a huge fan base following for the Havoc, and there are a lot of huge social media followings for the Havoc as well. Highly recommend that you join all of those areas to see things, but how do you guys plan to, I guess, kind of connect with the fans themselves?
Well, for myself, I'm kind of an old-fashioned guy with some of that stuff, so I will get on all the social medias that I'm not on yet, and of course do that. But I think at the end of the day, you have to be in the public, in the face with the people, face to face a little bit. So I'm hoping that we can kind of take advantage of some of those sort of time opportunities with the fans, whether it's pre-game, after the game, at events that are out in the community in Huntsville and around. I want to be able to shake hands and hear their comments, see their faces, see their smiles, and experience their excitement. I think that's a huge deal. And then, of course, parlaying that into promoting that on all the social media as well is going to be fun. So, but I'm a kind of a face-to-face sort of person, so I hope that works out. What about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I would say I definitely want to be getting to games early and meeting as many people as I can. I know we had an idea of trying to do a type of a pregame show on YouTube on our Bandits page. Obviously, know a lot of guys from playing beer league at the rink, and you know I know a lot of them are frequent partakers in Havoc games. So I think just kind of spreading it around locally, as Guy mentioned, going to events. If there's different pages that we're missing or need to be a part of, and, you know, we'd definitely like to reach out to you after this and make sure we're part of all the different Facebook groups and fan groups. And, you know, we want to be as accessible as possible to the fan base. I mean, it's a fan base that loves their team. It's very passionate. And, you know, as you mentioned, you know, it's a great, you know, mission that we have to be part of that, you know, small piece of the pie here of the Havoc family. So, I mean, we're very honored, and whatever we can do to make sure that the fans know that we care, we're hearing, and, you know, we're up for critiques. We want to get better. We want to do everything we can to just make it an A1 production, because that's what this team deserves, and that's what the fan base deserves. And, you know, one thing kind of off topic, but I mean, I just remember the first Havoc game I went to a couple years ago after I moved here from Tampa, and finding out, I was like, geez, you know, and not saying this in a negative way, but just finding out that the players, you know, they don't make NHL level money, but I mean, it's such a physical game. I mean, the biggest takeaway I had is every single person on that ice loves the game so much, because you have to be willing to take such a physical beat down, and, you know, it's not something that you're doing for fame or glory. It's just for pure love of the sport. And it's a love that these players have that's a childlike love that all of us can relate to, of going to our first hockey game and be like, man, this is something special. So I have so much admiration and respect for every single player that laces it up. So I think Guy and I really want to do everything we can to represent both teams well, the organization well, and obviously the fan base well.
I think you're completely correct when you say that, because we as fans, we know they're not making the kind of money. Why would you do this, right? Why would you be this age and go out there all the time and do this for like not a lot to show for it? And it's truly, they absolutely love it. It is their, in their blood, their heart, their soul, and they're playing the game, but they're also playing for themselves, for their teammates, right? There's more of a bond, all these things. And I think that's why when they leave, either because they get called up, which is a wonderful opportunity, or they decide that it's time to retire, I think that's why we were heartbroken in a way, because we know how much they put into it. And we know that what they're doing is coming from like a true place of like innocence, in a way of just enjoying the game and doing and living out that hockey dream and stuff. So you're right on target with that, 100%. Okay, so I want to transition really quickly, and I wanted to ask you guys just a few fun questions before we end. I always like to ask fun questions. So I'm curious, the first thing is, are you guys still going to be doing the Bandits before I move on to that? Are y'all still going to be calling those? Is the season over? How does that work? Or is Beer League all 24/7, 365?
Yeah, we're still going to be doing that. The extent of it and stuff, I'm not sure yet, but Nate can speak more to this, but if we broadcast one game and then we break it down into clips and stuff, it gives us, enough content for a week or two, so we don't have to broadcast every week.
Nice. Okay.
And because none of us live in Huntsville, I'm north about an hour and 10 minutes. Land and the other broadcaster was East Nashville, so he was almost 2.5 hours. Nate was an hour and a half to Florence. So when we got there, we wanted to make the best use of the time that we could, right? So, but I think we're still going to be doing some Bandit stuff for sure.
Bandits by day, Havoc by night.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds good to me.
I might put that on a T-shirt.
Just know that your family friendly podcast came up with that idea.
Exactly. Oh, I would credit you for sure.
I'm just getting with you. I'm just messing. But you're a bandit by day, you're a Havoc wolf by night. I mean, that's kind of how that works very well. Okay, so if any of you, I guess mostly Guy or Jacob, if you had the opportunity to broadcast, be in the booth for your dream NHL team, like which team would be like the icing on the cake to get to do the play-by-play call for?
I know what Jacob's going to say.
Yeah, I would say the Tampa Bay Lightning for sure.
So I grew up a Montreal Canadiens fan, still am. And the fact that Jacob was involved in helping Tampa Bay beat Montreal in that game down in Florida a few years ago still kind of irks me.
Well, so you would be, that's what your team would be. Who would be the person that you'd want in the broadcast booth with you? Could be someone that's no longer here that was like an idol of yours, or someone that you'd like to call with now.
Oh, Danny Gallivan, for sure. He was the voice of Hockey Night in Canada from the early 60s, maybe the late 50s, all the way up until he retired. And that was a classic voice that you always remember. And he was very unique. He actually invented a couple of names that ended up in a dictionary that he kind of come up with during the game. Like he would say things like, when a goalie made a big save, he would say, and a scintillating save. Well, a scintillating is not actually a word, but it became a word that Danny Gallivan coined and became part of hockey vernacular, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I'd love to broadcast with him.
I'm going to be expecting those words to be coming out of your mouth during the broadcast this year.
I'll try.
What about you, Jacob? Who would you want to be in the booth with?
It would definitely be Doc Emmerich, who did all the NBC and Versus hockey games for a very long time. He used to also do the New Jersey Devil games. And to me, I think he's just one of the best all-time broadcasters ever. One Lightning game, I was working a playoff game, and I got the opportunity to meet him. And just one of the kindest people. He gave me his email. He's like, anything you ever need, send me an email. He still does, some kind of charity broadcast. And he's just a really good human being and somebody that loves the game, somebody that's put a lot of time into the game. And to me, anytime there was a game and you heard Doc Emmerich was doing the play-by-play, you knew it was a big game. And a lot of my fondest hockey memories watching games on TV were with him.
That's awesome. Okay. Favorite sports movie? It can be a hockey movie, doesn't have to be, but what's the sports movie you recommend?
I don't like the outcome of this one as much, but Miracle on Ice is an absolutely golden story because of the odds that were so deep against that team from doing well, right? They're college kids that he brought together, and he worked them to the bones. And it's a great testimony about the work ethic that's involved in any sport to become above average, right? One of my favorite scenes in that movie is when they had that very complacent showing against one of the teams pre-Olympics in Europe, and he made him skate lines after that game. And then the guy said, hey, we got to shut down the lights. And he goes, shut them down. And he made him skate in the dark. And to me, that is a really great look at what it takes to become absolutely great in your sport. And I love the movie for that.
That sounds like something Nick Saban would have done back in the day.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love watching that movie with my son. And I use it as a way of perseverance, right? You want to be to the highest level, the top of your game. It doesn't come easy. There's a lot of sacrifice that comes with it. Jacob, what's your sports movie of choice?
My favorite sports movie is Slapshot. My dad's a big Paul Newman fan. And so watching that with him and just one of my fondest. I find it very funny. I think there's a lot, it's a very cute and sweet movie, I think. And, it's about a town kind of getting shut down and how much the hockey team means to the town and how much the hockey means to those guys. And I mean, it's a minor league team similar to the Havoc where, there's no glitz and glam, but the people love the sport. And in the city for the Chiefs love the sport. So, and that's just something that my dad and we really always enjoy watching together. So it's a lot of great memories with that.
That's awesome. And go ahead.
And that movie has endured the test of time. Like, it's been a cult classic for a lot of hockey people, but just sports in general for decades now.
Oh, yeah. And I remember the first time we watched it, we were trying to find anything and everything we could. Hockey season's not happening. What do? We fill our time with any kind of sports we can to watch hockey stuff. And I remember telling my husband, is our kid ready to watch this yet? And then we took him to a Havoc game, and he's like yelling at the ref and almost saying all the words, but not saying them, and you suck, ref. And I was like, yeah, he can watch it. We'll just pan out the scenes that he doesn't need to see.
Hey, whenever I'm in my kitchen, Jacob, and I pull out the aluminum foil to wrap a food product or something, I always think to myself, you want to foil up? One of my favorite scenes.
So funny. Nate, do you have a sports movie that just near and dear to your heart too?
Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Hey.
It's very inspiring.
Hey, randomly, we were in Spirit Halloween a few weeks ago, and no lie, there's a whole section for dodgeball outfits from the movie.
It was
that's
very
amazing.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sequel coming out, I think, in a year or two. I'm pretty hyped up about that.
Of all the random costumes I would find in there, whole section on the dodgeball movie. I thought that was weird and funny at the same time. Okay, I got two more questions before I let you guys go back to all the fun things that you've been doing. First, the last thing, or one of the last things I wanted to know is, do they get superstitious? Do you have like pregame rituals, or do you think you're going to? I mean, the fan base has superstitions. We know the guys do, but do you guys as broadcasters do that?
You never talk about a shutout.
Okay.
While the game's going on. I'm not superstitious, and I mentioned that during one of our beer broadcasts. The team was up 3 or 4-0, and funny enough, they ended up getting scored on and lost the shutouts. And I remember Jacob saying to me, "Hey, man, you never talk about a shutout during the game."
What about you, Jacob?
I'm just a very superstitious person in general. Even when I watch Auburn football games, and sometimes I started thinking maybe I just need to stop watching the games because somehow they did better when I didn't watch the games. But even in my silly beer league, if I play bad, I'm like, I got to change my tape job, or at work, if a certain notebook. I get that from my mom. She's also very superstitious. So if I find a penny on the ground and it's face up, I put it in my shoe for the day. So that's just the kind of person I am, and I'm always looking for good luck. And so, yeah, I'm sure I'll have different things that, in quirks once I get up there in the booth. And, if I have a good call and I was like, oh, well, I got Starbucks before the game, or I did this before the game, I'll probably continually do that until I have a bad call and then find something else to replace it with. But in general, I'm a very superstitious person.
That's hilarious. Okay. And then finally for you guys, I always like to ask the guys, hey, what's on your tunes? What are you playing? What music? What's your walkout music? Like, if they were playing a track in the Von Braun that was the walkout music for either of you, like, what would that song be?
Oh, that's a good one. Mine would probably have to be some sort of 70s rock, Aerosmith, Journey, Boston. I would go to any one of those. Probably Boston would be my first one.
Love that. I love that. What about you, Jacob?
It's not really a hype song, but it's a song that gets me hype. Is "My Way" by Frank Sinatra. I feel once again one of my dad's favorite songs, and it's something that always kind of dials me in and gets me ready to go.
What about you, Nate? You got one? Your walk-up track?
Yeah, I probably in the past have said Queen, but right now it's probably Pink Pony Club.
Oh, I hope someone in the Havoc's listening, and I hope these songs make it into the warm-up mix when they're out there. And you guys will know then that you have, secured your fate in the group. So I love this. Okay, lastly, before I let you guys go, just, any final thoughts, anything you want to say? This is just an opportunity for anyone who has no clue who you are and is kind of skeptical about new sound in the booth and all these different changes. Just, what do you want to say to those people and kind of, round this out?
Jacob.
Anyone.
Yeah, I guess I would say that I'm very, very honored, very excited for the opportunity. I hope everybody knows how serious we understand this is, and that we are going to do everything we can to grow the game in Huntsville, to grow the game in the Southeast, and to also promote the Havoc the best way possible. This has been an extremely successful franchise over a very long period of time, and to get to be a part of this now is a great honor. And we hope to get an opportunity to be in your living rooms. We're very appreciative to Flow Hockey, very appreciative to the Havoc. And, honestly, it still hasn't hit me because since I was a kid, this is something I've always wanted to do, especially in hockey. My little sister, was funny, used to have this cash register that had a microphone on it, and it was pink, and I would use it to call my brothers playing FIFA against each other, or, Mario Baseball or something silly. So to get to do a professional game is a life milestone for me. It's something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And it's an honor of a lifetime. So I'm very, very excited and very appreciative, and hope for the fans to be accepting of us. And we look forward to it. So very grateful.
I think for me, it's all those things probably. And also, as a former communications and television guy, I've always loved hearing the stories of the people that you're out there broadcasting or working with and stuff. And I love the format of the podcast. I mean, for you to have us on here today it's a big deal for us. It's a big deal for me because you are promoting all those things that we believe in as well, every week or every day out to your folks. And all of that stuff has an impact in the hockey community and wherever you are, but especially for us all here in Huntsville. So I'm glad to be part of this and to be part of what you do and do so well. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, I just want guys to come up, shake our hands and get a picture or something and just tell us how much fun they're having with the greatest sport in the world. And to me, that would be worth it all.
That sounds great. What about you, Nate?
Sorry, I was muted a minute ago. I'm picking my son up from kindergarten, but it's kind of like Jacob said. It hasn't really hit me yet. This is such a big deal to me personally. We started doing the Bandits 3 years ago, and it was just for fun. It was a little hobby that we were doing. And that it's grown to the point where we get to cover a professional hockey game is just unbelievable. And we really want to show the fan base a ton of respect. We want to show the team a ton of respect. We want to do this the right way and do an amazing job at it. So, we're just super thankful, super gracious of Havoc for the opportunity, and we're really looking forward to starting the season.
Well, you think you nailed it on the head by saying, this was just a hobby and look what it turned into. And I think about us doing this podcast, myself, Tim, Catherine, it was just kind of a hobby and it's morphed into something we've been doing for a few years now. And I don't think that the three of us would know our hockey life without it, getting to do this kind of stuff. So I understand what you mean when you say it was just something really cool we thought we were doing, and then it kind of transitioned and changed our lives in a way. So I am looking forward to seeing that opportunity happen for the three of you and seeing what wonderful new things that you're going to bring to the Havoc fan base, to the organization, to all of that. So thank you so much for sitting down, chatting with us, and sharing your story with everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yes, we are so excited. And we're looking at the 24th. It's not a lot of time. I think I've even seen some Havoc countdowns in some of the Facebook groups going on right now. So we are all excited. I mean, NHL has started, but there's just something about being in the Von Braun with all the thousands of those fans, the music, the lights, all of that just changes everything. So as we always say, keep reeking of Huntsville Havoc hockey. We'll see you next time, and the season is about to start, so we can't wait to start the season with you. Y'all take care.
The Reekin Havoc Podcast.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Join us now for Huntsville's greatest hits, where current and former players recount their most memorable dropping of the gloves.
Former Havoc forward Jeff Dams.
My first fight, I remember probably midway through my first year there. I'm already taking a little bit of heat from the guys because I show up and I wear a visor. I'm a college kid. Nobody else was wearing a half visor at that time. So I'm taking a little bit of grief from the fellows about being soft. And so halfway through the year, they look at me, and we were in Columbus, and they're like, you got to get a major. It doesn't matter who, you got to go fight somebody. And I was like, oh, okay. I did it a couple times in junior. I was like, all right. Spent a bunch of weeks at practice. Goose is showing me how to grab and all the different techniques. Billy's showing me, Jay's showing me, throwing me around the practice rink after practice. So we're sitting in Columbus. We've got the game notes, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking down the roster of this Columbus team, and I'm like, who doesn't have a major? Who else is not a fighter? And so you go to the top of the points, and you start scrolling down, and it's this Tyler Keller guy. I'm like, all right, first face off, we're in the neutral zone. I was like, we gotta fight. You and me today, we have to fight. He's like, what? Yeah, you and I, we're going at some point. And they dropped the puck, and he just threw everything at me. His stick, his gloves, and I was like, oh, we're going right now. And I don't remember how it went. I suspect both of us threw 4 or 5 pillows at each other, fell to the ground. The ref jumped in. So that was my first fight, and it was because the guys were like, come on, Danzy, you gotta, it's time. It's time. You gotta grow up here. And then there was a couple others. We had a guy named Bill Monkman, and he would just run around the ice and just create havoc. And I remember one game, he ran somebody kind of from behind. Some guy jumped on his back and was like beating him. And so I come speeding in and I jump on this guy. And before I had my gloves off or anything, this guy turned around and hit me probably 4 times in the visor before I knew what was happening. I was like, oh, I turtled. So now I'm turtled next to Monkman on the ice. The blind leading the blind. Needless to say, I was not a fighter. I think I had one more fight against a guy in Knoxville named Ackright, who it turns out my current boss went to college with him. So I picked another college guy at that point. So that's it. That was really the full extent of my fighting life. The rest of the time, I'd just find the guy on the ice. There would be a scrum. If everybody had a guy, I would find the guy that was leading their team in scoring, and I'd stand next to him, or I'd try and pull somebody off of somebody else. And normally Goose and Jay and Billy could take care of 2 or 3 guys on their own, but you make sure they're generally 1v1. I remember one game, Carmi and DeGarry somehow got into some sort of scuffle, and both of them were fighting one guy, and they were best of friends, so they were picking up for each other all the time. That was the beautiful thing about that team. Everybody stuck up for everybody. I never felt unsafe. I always felt like somebody had my back.
We'll be back with the Reekin Havoc podcast.
In June of 2005, our twin girls were delivered, Melissa and Ann Catherine, and they were born 14 weeks early.
Amy and Chris George talk about the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund.
They both weighed less than 2 pounds. Ann Catherine was 115 and Melissa was 1'9". Melissa lived for a couple of hours, but all of the medical technology in the world just could not have saved her, and she passed away while she was in the NICU. Chris realized pretty early that God had given us a platform that we could use to try to help people. So Chris and I started the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund at Huntsville Hospital.
To know that Melissa's name is living on, her legacy continues, and I think that was very important to Amy and I, is why the fund is named after her. Because for 7 weeks, Melissa fought so that Aunt Catherine would have a chance to live. And I think that we wouldn't be doing her name any justice if we didn't carry on, because we know we wanted to honor her and honor her legacy. And the community, Huntsville Havoc, the community in Huntsville itself, they've rallied around that. And it's been a wonderful support system for us. And I think for a lot of families too, when they see total strangers that are giving.
We're online at HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org. Click on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund and you can give that way.
There's no donation that's too small, and every dollar is just as important as the next one. And if you're giving, then we understand you're giving because you care. And that's what's important, is that we've learned over the years that people give because they care.
And you can volunteer. If you're interested in that, you can click on the volunteer tab to fill out an application. We are grateful for any type of support, because we know that once we pull those dollars together, we can do big things.
For more information on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, visit HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org.
Hey, this is Kevin Janot, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
The team signed former Huntsville native and former UAH forward Josh Kessner last week. Kessner played 4 years with the Chargers, where he put up 24 goals and 32 points his senior season. He went on to play in the AHL with the Toronto Marlies, then moved on to the ECHL's Newfoundland Growlers, scoring 9 goals in their playoff run to a Kelly Cup championship, and snagged the MVP the following season while with the Toledo Walleye. Stints in Finland, Russia, Czechoslovakia, and Slovakia came next before his return home. The annual Meet the Team party will be October 15th from 5 till 7:30 on the arena floor of the VBC. Get up close with the players of this year's team and collect autographs. There will also be complimentary food throughout the event, and season ticket holders can pick up their exclusive gifts for the season in the East Hall. A trick-or-treat watch party has been scheduled for November 1st at Probst Arena for the team's away game against Quad City. Local sponsors, vendors, and community groups will be set up with tables throughout the arena, handing out candy and goodies for kids of all ages. Chaos and Ruckus will be on hand to take photos and hand out candy while providing their own brand of fun. Havoc merchandise and arena concessions will also be available for purchase throughout the night. The Havoc is giving away an ice suite for the upcoming season. Go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com to the Fan Zone tab and click on Ice Suite Giveaway. The official Game Puck Club has been announced. $299 gets you every specialty puck from this season, plus 4 mystery signed pucks. For more information, go online to havocgear.com. Kids Club registration is now open. Go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com and click on the Fan Zone tab and scroll down to Kids Club. You can choose between the Chaos Plan or the Ruckus Plan. Season tickets for next year are now on sale. Full, half, or quarter season plans as well as group tickets are available. Go to the menu at HuntsvilleHavoc.com and click on the Tickets tab. The Havoc Booster Club's Teddy Bear collection is underway for the Teddy Bear Toss at the Thanksgiving game to benefit Toys for Tots. For more information on how to donate, contact Booster Club President Tanya Ozanek via the Booster Club Facebook page or go to HavocBoosters.org.
Do you have an idea for the Reekin Havoc podcast? Email us at reekinhavoc@outlook.com. That's REEKIN havoc@outlook.com. Send a Facebook message to the Reekin Havoc page or leave us a voicemail or text at 256-434-RKKN. That's 256-434-7556.
The Reekin Havoc Podcast. For those returning from military service, the transition back to civilian life isn't always easy. Retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Bill Cook talks about still serving veterans.
The mission of Still Serving Veterans is to serve and honor veterans and their families by empowering them to build meaningful lives. And we do that through connecting to fulfilling careers, getting the benefits they deserve, or the services that they need. We have never charged anybody anything for our services. A group of business leaders in town felt there was a need to help the seriously wounded make that transition back into civilian life. Employment services, VA benefits, and connections to other community services. That's what we do. If you're a veteran and you need help, please get a hold of us. Go to that website, ssv.org, and you can find out pretty much anything you need to know about still serving veterans.
In Huntsville, call 256-883-7035.
For tickets, official Huntsville Havoc merchandise, and more, go to huntsvillehavoc.com. Visit our website at reekinhavoc.com. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Threads. And listen, follow, and subscribe to the Reekin Havoc podcast on your favorite platform to keep up with the only weekly podcast covering the Huntsville Havoc, the Reekin Havoc podcast.